Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's talk about that device that's probably in your pocket or in your hand right now. Is your smartphone just a harmless, essential tool, or is it something way more complicated, maybe even dangerously addictive? So let's just jump right in with a pretty provocative idea from psychiatrist Dr. Justin Romano. He says the smartphone isn't just a gadget. To him, it's the most pervasive new drug of the 21st century. I mean, that's a really bold claim, and it totally reframes how we think about our relationship with technology. The idea here is that we're not just dealing with, a bad habit. The argument is that this could be a full-blown pandemic of addiction, one that's actually fueling our mental health crisis. So is that just over-the-top language, or is there something real to it? Okay, check out how Dr. Romano makes his case. It's a really startling comparison. He basically lines up the impact of some hypothetical new drug right next to our smartphones. You see the links to depression, anxiety, even driving deaths. They're pretty similar. But look at the usage rates. At the absolute peak of smoking, 45% of Americans smoked. Today, 97% of us have a smartphone. That's a huge difference. So let's just go with this for a second. These are the classic signs of addiction, right out of the psychiatry playbook. Now think about your own phone. Do you get that anxious feeling when you don't have it? Withdrawal? Is your screen time slowly, or maybe not so slowly, creeping up? Have you ever tried to cut back and it just didn't work? Seriously, be honest with yourself. How many of these are ringing a bell? But here is where it gets complicated. Even with all these parallels, phone addiction is not an officially recognized diagnosis. And because it's not in the big psychiatric manuals, well, that makes it incredibly difficult to formally diagnose it, for insurance to cover treatment, or even to track it on a national level. So it's this problem that a lot of us feel is real, but it doesn't even have a formal name yet. Okay, so if it acts like an addiction, how does it actually work? I mean, how does a little rectangle of glass and metal get its hooks into our brains so effectively? Well, the answer is all about our brain chemistry. It pretty much all boils down to this one little chemical, dopamine. It's a super fundamental part of our brain's reward system. Think about it this way. Way back in the day, if you found a bush full of berries, your brain would release dopamine, and that good feeling would make you want to find that bush again. It's literally a survival mechanism. And today's technology has basically hacked that ancient system. Social media platforms have perfected what some have called a social validation feedback loop. It's simple. You post something, you get a like or a comment, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine, and that makes you want to post again to get another reward. It's a simple, powerful, and, endlessly repeatable cycle. And to make it even stickier, these apps use a principle that comes straight from the casino floor: intermittent variable reinforcement. See, you don't get a reward every single time. You have no idea which post will get 100 likes or which video will suddenly go viral. And it's that randomness, that unpredictability that keeps you pulling the lever, or in this case, scrolling the feed over and over again. All right, so we've got a theory of addiction and a plausible mechanism for how it could work. And this brings us right to the heart of the whole debate. Is this brain hacking causing a real, measurable mental health crisis? Or are we just freaking out, caught up in the latest moral panic over new technology? So if you're on the crisis side of the argument, the data is frankly alarming. According to the CDC, the number of high school students who say they feel persistently sad or hopeless just shot up over the last decade. And just look at the numbers for teen girls. It jumped from 36% all the way to 57%. That timeline, it lines up almost perfectly with the explosion of smartphones and social media in teen life. And then the Facebook files happened. Back in 2021, a whistleblower named Frances Haugen leaked a ton of internal documents showing that Facebook, which is now Meta, wasn't just aware of these kinds of problems, they had been studying them internally for years. And this quote comes directly from one of their own research presentations. 32% of teen girls said that when they already felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel worse. I mean, they knew. They knew their platform was making body image issues worse for a huge number of their most vulnerable users. So all this evidence really forms the backbone of that crisis argument. But as I said, there is a strong counter-argument that this is all just a moral panic, and that we've seen this kind of fear about new tech play out time and time again. Skeptics will tell you the data is actually pretty weak. Some studies have found the negative effect is tiny. One even found that wearing glasses has a stronger negative link to well-being. They also, and this is important, stress that correlation is not causation. There are so many other factors that could be at play, right? And they remind us that history is just littered with these moral panics, from the printing press to TV to video games. So, while the researchers and academics continue to debate all this, you've got parents, schools, and even governments who are not waiting around for a final answer. They see a problem and they're already trying to find solutions. On an individual level, experts like Dr. Romano suggest some really practical steps for parents. Use those screen time limiting apps. Take the phones away at night so kids can actually sleep. Talk to them about the risks. And this is probably the hardest one. Try to model a healthy relationship with your own phone. At a much bigger societal level, the ideas get a lot more serious. The U.S. Surgeon General recently called on Congress to actually mandate a warning label on social media apps. He explicitly compared the potential harm to tobacco, arguing a label like that could raise awareness and really change behavior. And believe me, that warning label is just the start. Lawmakers are now debating a whole range of new regulations, things like raising the minimum age to 16 or 18, or banning features designed to be addictive, like infinite scroll. This whole thing has become a huge policy battle. So with all that on the table, where does this leave us? Where are we all headed in a future that's going to be lived both on and offline? Look, here's the most important takeaway. While the researchers continue to debate the science, the cultural conversation has already shifted. The concern out in the real world is palpable, and it's already forcing real changes in laws, in schools, and in homes all across the country. And that really just leaves us with the ultimate question, because let's be real, these devices aren't going anywhere. So whether you think it's a full-blown crisis or just a moral panic, we all have to figure out the answer for ourselves. What does a truly healthy relationship with our technology actually look like?